Minister, my question relates specifically to the climate action plans, which all of the 31 local authorities, it's mandatory on them to prepare that. And I'm specifically asking about Galway City and Galway County, and more particularly your department, and what progress has been made in relation to a monitoring and reporting system, because that's essential.
Thank you very much. In March 2023, I published statutory guidelines to assist local authorities in preparing their local authority climate action plans, which includes a requirement for ongoing monitoring and progress reporting. Each local authority must provide reporting arrangements which demonstrate accountability for the delivery of actions at various levels, including reporting within the local authority to elected members, strategic policy committees or other fora. Secondly, reporting at a sectoral level to aggregate towards performance of the local government sector on climate action. And thirdly, reporting at national level as part of the delivery of the National Climate Objective to existing reporting structures for the National Climate Action Plan and additional reporting on progress of the local authorities' climate action plans. My department introduced Action LG 24.3 to the 2024 Climate Action Plan to develop a monitoring and reporting system for the local authority climate action plans to fulfil our national reporting obligations. This national monitoring and reporting system is currently being developed by my department. My department has developed a proposal on local authority climate key performance indicators to support the local authority climate action plans. We shared this in mid-May with the County and City Management Association and their climate action KPI working group. It will engage further with the CCMA on this to develop an agreed approach. Further to my response to parliamentary question 75 on the 14th of May last, I understand that my department has not had any engagement with Galway City or Council in relation to their LAC APs to date, but myself as Minister on a number of occasions, including in recent months, have met with the Council, with the County Manager and with their Director of Services and shared informally an assessment of their plan and where we go next.
Thank you, Minister, and I welcome your reply and what you've set out. But I think you would agree with me that a monitoring and reporting system is absolutely essential. Galway City Council is in trouble in relation to housing. They have many priorities on their hands, as you know, traffic congestion. And it seems to me that climate action is not getting the attention that it deserves. And I can understand that to a certain extent. However, we declared an emergency back in 2009, and you know this better than me. And then in 21, you asked for applications in relation to a decarbonising zone. And City Council did its job there and sent that in. And here we are 3 years later and nothing has happened. Now, I know the decarbonising zone is going to be part of the climate action plan, but you can imagine my frustration, and I'm sure you share it, in relation to how long it's taken after we declared the climate emergency. We need transformative change. That will not happen with management under pressure into so many other issues. It needs to be led by the department, and the most essential part of that is a monitoring and reporting system.
Firstly, I mean, one thing I was very pleased was that every one of the local authorities, 31 local authorities and their councils approved their climate action plan, local climate action plans, along the time frame that we had requested in, I think it was March this year. So, and it varies, and the level of engagement varies between counties. You have to be upfront and honest. But there was a very real effort to make sure that happened. I agree with you. We now need to go forward and really focus on the implementation phase in the decarbonising zones, but also in the monitoring, measuring. And we will make sure that we do deliver those monitoring and reporting standards so that local authorities can be measured and tested in terms of performance and delivery. Can I say one other thing though? I think we have to be careful. It can't all be top down from the centre. It does have to be bottom up, and it to be owned at a local level. And in the series of meetings I've had in Galway, both city and county, one of the other elements I think in the mix is other actors. I had a very good meeting with Galway Chamber of Commerce, where I believe they were absolutely sincere and committed in terms of, from the business sector, playing their part. And actually that it's not just the local authorities, it is also, and go back to what we were saying earlier on, our sustainable energy groups and so on. I had a meeting yesterday with the various groups around the country involved in SDGs. It does have to be broad. It can't be just the local authority or just business I think it's a variety of different organisations, tidy towns organisations, local macro and so on. They also have a role, and I think encouraging and facilitating them within the climate plans is going to be key.
Bottom up. Galway is a particularly good example of a bottoms up, and I was there back in 2000 and 2001, 2, 3, when there's a bottoms up in relation to no incineration, not in a NIMBY fashion, but zero waste, and we were laughed at. We developed a plan for the county, and what happened? Government removed the power to make plans. You're aware of all of that. We collected 24,000 signatures for a feasibility for light rail. It simply still hasn't happened. The people are way ahead of us in relation to sustainability and climate change, and we still have foolish voices calling for an outer bypass that's going nowhere. It's going into a cul-de-sac, and in the meantime nothing is happening. So let's get back here. We do need leadership from a department for a city that's going under with a housing crisis and traffic congestion. We need leadership, and the basic thing to monitor and report is missing, and that delay is on your side. We're looking at 17 of the 20 warmest years in Ireland's history have occurred since 17 of the 20 since 1990. Ireland's first climate change report stated that Ireland is still heavily dependent on fossil fuels, and so an insufficient action. I'm over time and I'll stop. Much knowledge I'd like to go on.
Yeah, it needs both, and we in central government have to be centrally involved. But maybe to take a couple of examples where it also requires local authority leadership. In this whole transport area, going back to an earlier question from Deputy Gannon, I was making the case that to meet our climate targets, we're going to have to reduce the volume of traffic, and that requires demand management measures which can only be taken at a local level. You can't have a central government Department of Transport saying, we're going to close this road, we're going to open that, or whatever. So it does need local leadership. A second example where we do have a real issue, a number of counties and councils, in response to public concerns, have basically frozen out the potential development of renewable power in their various development plans. And that's a real issue. Our ability to meet our renewables targets, which will cover half of the emissions reductions we need to see this decade, has been stymied in many instances by the development plans which basically stop it. And again, we are going to have to probably work through the national planning framework towards a more regional approach. So, firstly, it's fairer that it isn't just some counties doing the heavy lifting and others not, and also not benefiting from it. Third example, and I think your case is a good one in terms of the waste area, where I agree with you. We've taken too much power from local authorities. We do need to restore action and decision making at local level, and create this new circular economy opportunity. That too can only come from a bottom up. We will provide the legislative and other structures and funding, financing from central government, but it does require leadership at a local level as well.